Hey fellow adventure riders and YouTubers, my name's Tim and this is actually my first YouTube video, so don't crucify me in the comments, just kidding. So just wanted today to go talk to you a little bit about my 2005 DL650 Vstrom and about the panniers that I attached to it. I got the idea, like many guys that are adventure riders, about using ammo cans to put on as panniers. They're tough, they're watertight, and I was looking for something like that. I actually had some panniers that I had on here. I'll show you those in a moment. But I wanted something that I was for sure, as I do a longer ride this summer, that I was for sure was going to be watertight. And I knew that these would be watertight. They've got a great seal in them. But I wanted to show you a little bit today because I had a little bit of trouble on YouTube finding a good video that I felt like was instructional enough about how you put ammo cans and attaching them to your bike. So for those of you that have a rack on your bike, I think this may be helpful. If you don't have a rack, you're probably going to need to get one or manufacture one in some way. So just going to chat with you a little bit about that. So these ammo cans, I found them at a local store. I had a bit of a hard time finding them here locally. There's obviously a bunch of them online, but you got to pay pretty good shipping costs. I did find these at a local Army Navy store, and they were pretty reasonable. I think they were about 40 bucks a piece, which isn't huge, but it's pretty good for dry panniers and knowing that you have something that's going to take care of your gear. So and I just want to show you a little bit about how I hooked them up and talk a little bit what the process was and what you guys could probably do. So first of all, they have a really good lid on them, the really tight seal here. One of the major beefs about using ammo cans for panniers is the weight. I haven't thought that was such a big deal. They do weigh about 20 pounds each, but the aluminum cans that you can buy weigh about 10 or 11, 12 pounds. So you're really only saving about 8 pounds. And if I had a rider on the back, they would weigh more than 40 or 80 pounds. You know, so anyways, that hasn't been a big deal to me. I'm going to continue to use them in that way. Couple things I wanted to show you for the panniers. I actually have them loaded. They're on pretty tight. They fit really tight. I did do a ride last weekend. I was off-road for about an hour, not on single track or anything like that, but I was on gravel, dirt, major pothole, bumps, mud, those kind of things. They held on tight, no issues. I did want to make them where they were fairly quick on and off, and so one of the things I did was put a turn knob on the inside. So what I did was I added a quick turn knob like this, where I can literally get it off. Just take that off, I put it in my pocket wherever, and it lifts off just that easy. Okay, so I've got the bolt here, the screw knob attaches to it. For the pannier itself, I chose to use aluminum to bend the. I literally went out and bought some aluminum stock from Lowe's and just cut it down, and I bent it in my workshop. I don't have any special tools, but I did just simply put it in a vise and was able to bend it. My goal was obviously to match the rack that I had here. If you come back over here, this is the GV rack. As far as I know, it was on here when I bought the bike, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I simply took the knobs that were on there. So this had a couple of different attachment points. It had attachment points here and here. With these knobs, I simply took them off, and it had a attachment point at the top that was a quick lock system that GV uses. Although I don't have the GV bags, they're actually the old school JC Whitney hard bags that you can get. And one of the reasons they don't seal tight is the reason I was looking to do something else. So with that said, I took all that gear off and simply made one attachment point at the top, and then I used the aluminum to attach to the back of the pannier itself, where I can just hook it over, and that's like a quick disconnect in that way. So you can see this is kind of the end result of that. I attached these on here. I first of all started out thinking that I would use a rivet but I was afraid the aluminum rivets wouldn't be strong enough, so I moved over and actually used the bolts. I actually put the bolts on the outside so the head is on the inside and doesn't stick out as far. The other thing of note is the GV racks. One of the things I looked at and worked on for a long time was how to mount them and have them look correct. So the part at the bottom here, it's actually slanted. It's maybe a little hard to tell, but it's slanted pretty far forward. And so if I made the bottom of the rack of the new Pannier ammo box level, or in a level plane parallel to this end bar, they really would have been tilted forward. So what I went for is trying to make them match up with the level of the seat and the rear rack. So that's really what I went for. What that meant for me is that I had to mount these. You can see the line for these is really kind of more at an angle instead of parallel with the bottom of the box, which means I had to make some marks here and some marks here to get them just right. In the end, on the other rack, I'm probably going to drill this out and put another bolt through here. This one has 4 bolts, 2 on each one. To reinstall it, it's really just about sliding it on, getting the hole lined up here. Sometimes just takes a second here. Sticking it through. Then I have my screw knob. I'm just attaching it here and tighten it down tight. Put the lid on. I'm back off, up and running. So it's quick, it's easy. I've liked them so far. The one other comment I think I would make, just for you guys that are thinking about doing something like this, one thing that these ammo cans do have is they have a structural piece on the outside that runs it down the side. I left it for the outside, but for the inside I did remove it. That went here. I did take it off. It was actually fairly easy with a flat bar and a hammer, like a carpentry flat bar. I took it, got the forks of it under here, and simply drove it off, and it actually came off fairly easy. It's just some pop rivets, or not rivets, some little welds, spot welds that hold it on. And that's it. If you have any questions, you can put them down in the comments field. Thanks a lot, guys. Hey, fellow adventure riders, this is Tim again. Just want to talk to you a little bit about the Panniers that I had on before and the ammo cans that I've recently moved to. These cases, these hard cases over here, have served me well for a couple years. They actually came with my bike. They're made after the GV E360 cases. They're made to look exactly like them. I actually thought they were the GV cases for a long time, but there wasn't any branding on them. What I found out since then is that they're actually the J.C. Whitney ones that were manufactured to look like the GV ones. They've been a really good case. They have a locking system. You can see here they use these that go on the racks which lock onto here, and they have a lock system here with just a quick that lock into here. They're quick on and off. They have just a one push button here with a key. They worked really well for me, but one issue that I've had with them is that when I went on a trip last year, I had some leaking issues. Not major leaking issues, but I also didn't drive through major rain. And so I really wanted something, as I'm looking at doing a trip this summer, something that I knew was watertight. That's why I started exploring would an ammo can work for that purpose. So you can see in my other video how I mounted these up to my bike, but I wanted to show you a little bit more about the ammo can. Just a couple of things. One is on the back here, first of all, these are 40 millimeter ammo cans. I had a bit of a time finding the right ones, and even though they don't actually say 40 millimeter on here, they say 7.62 millimeter. The size matches everything I've found online for 40 millimeter ammo cans in terms of width, height, depth. They match the 40 millimeter ammo cans, and this is what they showed me at the store when I asked for 40 millimeter. As I mentioned in my last video, I did drive off the support bar that was going through here. I used just a standard carpenter's flat bar. I simply got the teeth of it up underneath here, and once I got it lifted, I was able to drive it off really with no problem. The other couple other things I wanted to show you was, as I mounted these aluminum brackets up here, one, I did that so that these would not rust. I do plan on painting these boxes black or another color, not necessarily leave them just army green, although they do look really cool like that. But I do plan on painting these black, and I didn't want these to rust up later. And I found that the aluminum, I think that they're going to be pretty strong enough. One thing that I did here was, before I made attach these, I put a nice bead of silicone around these holes as I mounted this plate to the side of the ammo can to try to make this as watertight as possible. You could also put rubber grommets on the inside. Just to show you a bit of what I did on the inside, I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see it, but I did have, you can see I have the 4 attachment points here. I put a lock washer there, and I do plan to maybe take them back apart and put a rubber grommet in there, but not for sure. As you can see, up top here is actually my hole where the top mount goes through with the screw knob. Nothing special about this screw knob. Again, just something that I picked up at Lowe's. It attaches here, and I will be putting a rubber gasket right there on the inside where I have my attachment point. Really, that's it. I wanted to show you guys a little bit more about the ammo can, how I mounted it up, and the things I did to make it watertight. Other than that, I thought I would just show you the lid here. Again, this lid has a nice, big, heavy-duty rubber gasket around the outside, so the lid stays nice and dry. I know some guys are driving off this piece to reduce some weight. You can do that if you want. I chose not to, and probably won't do that because I just don't feel like they're overly heavy. I rode with them last weekend and they seemed fine. All right, guys. Happy trails out there to you guys. Get out and ride your bike. Stay upright. See you guys.